Hi, hi everyone. My name is Sandeep Singh. I'm a software developer at Industries, a company that works in the cybersecurity space. Over the years, I have seen how security often gets pushed to the background. Developers are usually focused on delivering features quickly, but sometimes that means ignoring or delaying security until it's too late. Okay. And in my experience, those shortcuts can lead to serious vulnerability in the application. So, this is the reason I created this series on Spring Security to help developers like us understand the importance of security, avoid common mistakes, and learn how to build protection into our application from the start itself. In this series, we will go step by step, starting with the fundamentals and then moving into hands-on examples so you can confidently secure your own Spring Boot applications. So, before we go further, let's quickly talk about the prerequisite that we required in order to follow this Spring Security tutorials that we're going to use in the rest of the tutorials. Okay. So first thing is Java 8. If you have knowledge of Java 8, it is best. Okay. And because we're going to write lots of lambdas, we're going to use lots of stream APIs. Okay. Then we came to REST APIs. So you should know the basics of the REST API. You should know how to write the REST API. Okay. Uh, and then we have Spring Basics. The Spring Basics means you should know the Spring framework, what is Bean, what is dependency injection, how to configure Spring applications. You should have knowledge on these basics of a Spring application. Okay. And then in the last, we need to know the knowledge about the persistence layer. Persistent layer means like you have to know JPA, JDBC, or Hibernate because in many cases we're gonna involve the user data, which is ultimately going to be protected using some Spring security feature. Okay, all right. So now let's move to the agenda. So first thing is mistakes we make as a software developer. So when we will start with the mistakes as developer, we often make assumptions. Okay, we think like okay, we're gonna develop this application. Security can be added later at some point of time. We also hard code some secrets, API keys, passwords, or database credentials. Okay, and then we are only checking the authentication but forgetting about the authorization because authentication and authorization comes side by side in order to secure an application. Okay, so basically at high level, what is authentication and authorization? Authentication is basically means who the user is, system identify who the user is. Okay, and the authorization means system understands, okay, this user is authenticated, I know this user, but what is the rights of this user to perform some action on our application? That is the authorization. Now the next mistakes we do, we expose sensitive data in the logs or the error messages. So we should avoid things like printing the password in the logs, credential in the logs. So this type of mistakes we should avoid it. Okay, so these mistakes basically looks small, but when it goes into production, it opens the door for the hacker to intrude into our system and steal the data. So it's better to think about security at the first place when we start writing the first line of code, when we are in the starting mode of building an application. Okay. The next thing is security and why it is important. Okay. So now every application today is exposed either on the internet or within a company internal networks. Okay. Attackers are always looking for weak points. Okay. Think about what could happen if your app is not secure. We're going to ultimately leak the user data, which is itself a sensitive information. Then we're gonna ultimately give the unauthorized access to APIs, which ultimately gonna cost us into a financial and reputational basis for our company. Okay, so security is not just a technical concern; it's about trust that we build between us and the user that gonna use our product. Okay, now. layers of security. So we have it's not like we're gonna secure our application and we are good to go. Okay, security comes in various phases. Okay, we need to secure each and every layer, and we need whenever we are working on some layer, we need to assume that okay, the previous layer don't have doesn't have any security at all. So we're gonna provide the security at most level for this layer. It's about multiple layers of defense working together. So okay, so whenever we are adding a security at a layer, so let's say it is a physical network, host, application, data, or user, any layer it will be. So we're gonna make sure that it should be implemented in a at most level, because we should not consider okay, there is one layer above this which is already protected, so we can make a small mistake here in the second layer. No, we should not do that. Okay, we should apply security at most level in the every layer. So what is physical layer? So physical layers comes into like protecting servers, data centers, network devices from physical tampering. Okay, examples are locks, guards, CCTV, restricted access, and etc. etc. Okay, and now comes the network layer. Network layer means protecting data when the data is in transit mode. Means it when it is transmitted through one point to another point. In that case, we need to protect the data from the unauthorized access. So how are we gonna prevent that? Using firewalls, intrusion detection, prevention systems, then HTTPS protocols, uh, network protocols we're gonna use, then VPNs, etc., etc. Okay. Now the host security. Host security means basically the OS level security that we need to think of, like securing individual machines, patching it, having the proper antivirus, securing configuration, etc., etc. Okay, and then comes the application layer. This is the layer which we gonna work on in the next in this complete series. Okay, and Spring Security mostly talks about the securing the application. Okay, it mostly talks about securing the application layer. Application layer means the software itself that we wrote. We need to protect that. In that case, Spring Security is one of the framework which gives us the opportunity to protect it. Now the data security. This layer means the we should maintain the data confidentiality, integrity, and its availability. So we should encrypt it at rest or in transit mode. Okay, database access control we need to have. Then we need to have the backups and all. And then in last comes the user layer, which is controlling human and process level interaction. Means we should force our user to have some strong passwords. They should enable multi-factor authorization, least privilege, training against phishing. This type of things comes in a user layer. Okay, let's go to the fourth point, which is Spring Security. Okay. So Spring Security is a powerful framework which is developed within a Spring ecosystem. What it provides? It provides authorization and authentication mechanisms out of the box. It also provides integration with databases, LDAP, and third-party providers like OAuth 2. Okay. It has built-in protection against common vulnerabilities, flexible configuration we can do to support both simple and complex requirement. This Spring Security framework is flexible enough that we can modify or customize each and every component in a Spring Security. That I'm gonna explain later in the videos. But yeah, this is the Spring Security. So basically, at a high level, if I want to give a um, taste of it, so if you plug it in your application, Spring Security, if you basically add it into the POM file, then a basic security is already in place, which is securing your application. Okay, which I'm gonna show you in the next videos. Also, we will see how to start a small, securing just a few endpoints, and then gradually move towards the advanced setups like JWT-based authentication system, CSRF, CORS. So lots of things coming into the later videos. Okay, so that's it, guys. So this is just an introduction video. to talk about the Spring security and security, what prerequisite we need in order to follow into the rest future videos. Okay, so stay tuned for the new videos. We're gonna work a lot on the Spring security. We're gonna spend a lot of times on securing our application. We're gonna learn in a more practical way. We're gonna do lots of hands-on. So stay tuned for the next videos. Until then, thank you.